Today in Electronics Tinker, I'm going to be assembling this 1541 disk drive emulator I designed for the Commodore 64. Alright, so here we go again. I'm going to be using the toaster oven for doing the reflow soldering. So I've got the stencil taped onto the board here, and same as last time, I'm just going to apply the paste to one side here, and then I'll use another board to kind of scrape it on like a putty knife. And there we go. Alright, put these aside, get them cleaned up later. So now we've got the SD card sockets here that I've got to line up. Alright, there we go. There's the other side of it, and there we go. Alright, and there it is. So let's go ahead and reflow this. So the board has finished the reflow process, and the SD card socket stuck on there pretty well. And if you look down inside of the socket, it appears all the pins have also connected. So that should be good. So now we're going to move on to soldering all the through-hole components and hopefully get around to testing the board. Alright, so we're down here at the soldering station. I've got the board here and the SD card sockets on. So I'm going to start going down the bill of materials here and adding all the components, but I'm not just going to go straight down and do it like line by line. Instead I'm going to do it by how tall the components are. So the first couple of components I'll install would be some like the resistors and the capacitors here, and then I'll move on to the electrolytic capacitors and some of the pin headers as well as the LEDs, and then finally I'll add in the sockets and then the big RJ11 connector, and then at the end I'll add in the end connector, or the cartridge connector at this end, and then we should hopefully have a working disk drive. Let's get started. So I finished soldering up the board, and here it is. So we've got the big card edge connector on the back. This plugs into the Commodore 64. And then the pass-through connector for a cassette, in case you wanted to also connect your cassette drive while having the disk drive connected to the computer. It has the programming header here for like the serial port, and then it has an ICSP port up at the top here. It also has a reset button and the SD card socket. I programmed the ATmega 328 with the bootloader and the program I've written in the Arduino language for the actual emulator, and it's all ready. And then off camera I also built this cable here, so it's got the DIN connector at the end for the cassette drive port, or the disk drive port. At the other end it has an RJ11 connector, and this just plugs into the phone jack on the board. And there you go. So this will, basically the board uses the cassette port for power, and then all of the serial signals come off this connector, and they both plug into the back of the Commodore, and there's the disk drive emulator. That's all I have for this video. If you liked it, be sure to leave a like, comment, or maybe even subscribe. In the next video, I'll be showing this emulator hooked up to my Commodore 64, and it'll be running through a few tests, such as printing a directory, as well as saving and loading programs.